So you are aware about the development process in which you're using Java 8, Spring Boot, and few other things. So what about deployment? Are you aware about the deployment process?
Currently, we have a DevOps team. They will be, we'll be, we have like Jenkins we integrated. So we'll be building for dev and QA. For production, we have a support team where they will be deploying.
Okay. So only your team and you take care of only the development part, and you will be pushing the code to GitHub.
Yeah,
Like that was it. Yeah. So and rest all processes done on its own, right?
yeah.
Deployment, everything.
Means deployment, we have a some like Red Hat tool which is integrated by DevOps team. So we'll be going and building the means if any changes we are doing, we'll be going and building and we'll be deploying in the dev and QA.
Okay, okay, okay. So, okay. And do you have any understanding about Docker?
Docker basically that is a container which we can deploy the our jar files and we can have many pods over there for like to do the load balancing. Basically, no, not full on hands on.
Not hands-on.
Yeah,
Okay. And what about DevOps?
I see. No, no hands on.
Thing. Okay. And Kubernetes?
Yeah, that is also same, right? It will come in Docker. No.
Okay. And Azure?
No.
Okay. Okay. No problem. And any idea about NoSQL database?
Basically, currently we are using, we are working with some database called like Solar. Solar we used to use. So that is also NoSQL.
Okay. And any of the messaging services?
Currently we are not using. No, no idea.
Okay. Okay. And what about relational database?
Yeah, currently we are using Microsoft SQL.
Okay, okay. So can I write a query to delete duplicate records from a table?
Okay. Shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
What did you told? Like delete the duplicates.
Duplicate records from the table.
Mm, like duplicate of in the table if you think of any name or anything on top of what criteria.
So you can assume any of the columns logically, whatever you think. Suppose we have personal information. So you can consider any of the columns which you think that should be unique for a person.
Okay.
So okay. So suppose we are storing a person's information, name and first name, last name, DOB, phone number, email. So what do you think that this particular column can be unique? Unique by mean it won't have any constraint, otherwise it won't have duplicate record, but it should be ideally unique.
Like if a person, okay, some like two three guys using same phone number, you think like then I need to remove the any one, like any one I need to keep.
Suppose I mean, like, so let's say email address. For one person we will store only one email address, right? So on the basis of email address, if you see that email address is duplicate, on that basis you have to delete the records.
Okay.
So only if the same address this 3 times, then you have to keep one and delete the other two. Okay, so let's park this. If in case while answering other questions, if you come across with some like progress, like answer, then we can get back to this. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with Java 8. So what are the features introduced in Java 8?
Yeah, basically, we used to use streams from the list and collections. Streams contains like filtering. Filters we have, maps we have, and some functions also we have, distinct max and all, and we have to collect method where we can collect that. So that is like terminal operator and intermediate operator will be. And
What other features do we have?
that's what filters, mapping, sorting.
Okay,
In the
so
streams.
that comes under streaming. So that is all the capability provided in stream. So apart from that, there are other features also in Java 8.
Yeah, there is like a lambda expression they introduced. So internally, that lambda uses the function interface. That is also introduced in Java 8. And we have in interface we can implement our methods using default keyword. That is also introduced, and we have for each method in the iterator class where we can use everywhere. That means that is an iterator interface for each method. And there's an optional class as well where we can use for like if we can validate whether the object is present or not, and we can go further like without earlier we just directly take and we will be without checking null pointer we will go further. Then if sometimes come error should we need to handle. So this one will be like handle, we can like check whether present or not and we can go further. That is optional. And we have local date time stamps for zoning and all, um, that is there.
Okay. Can you give me an example of lambda expression? Write some code snippet for it.
Okay. So if you have list of object and we are using streams, then we are doing any filter. So filter can have a predicate, so we can directly put any value here, and we can tell if something filter by a greater than or a contains a, if it is a string contains of any value, some value, and we can collect to object, to list of object. So basically this we will call as a lambda expression.
Okay, and what is this A?
Yeah, any reference like reference variable.
I mean, like, what is this list? What does it contain?
It contains a string of list of like string if you think.
Can you give a declaration, initialization to it?
Okay, we can have string list dot.
So the initialization you can keep. Okay. No.
Okay.
So I'm asking that what will be the values stored in it. That values.
Yeah. So we can put equal to null also or any other. If this contains some value. Yeah, this one we will tell lambda.
Is it done?
Yeah.
Okay. But still, we don't see any value to list. I mean, like, can you put some values to list?
Okay.
Okay. And do we have this method list.contains?
No. We are doing, this is like stream we are doing, right? So this is the object of string. So it is like one by one it is taking. We are telling if a is a string, right? Means it will be like a, we are telling like this is a string. So we are telling for that a dot contains, we are doing filtering. If means here you can think like that is a string, like we are iterating, right? So it list of object contains a string of string objects. So we are telling this is one by one. So a dot contains of any some value, then that only you take and to collect that. So if some value is there, then only that value will be collecting and it will give you.
Okay, and what is Spring framework?
What is like Spring framework in the sense like earlier like building for means Spring will be like everything that will give like being creation and all configuration and all it will does for us. Like we have a controller and all. If we are doing any services service layers, and we can put a other service and we can get the object for that. That is Spring, and basically we are using SpringBoot. So SpringBoot is more easy from Spring, where like in SpringBoot like we can have a POM, means in Spring and all we have to mention all the like all the dependencies and the versions and all we have to maintain for the particular means one dependency is depending on other dependency, means for the particular version, then we have to maintain the versioning and all. So that was one thing was there, and that was overcome by in Spring Boot. Like one main will be having Spring Web. Using that, we can have all the dependencies. Like Spring is like Spring Frame is like it is means earlier we have to do any display access alert and all we have to do for any post API and all. Here we have a controller where we can write APIs and directly control REST controller and request mapping or a REST post mapping or a get mapping directly, and that can be triggered. Means we with Spring has a certain annotation which will be used.
What is custom exception?
Custom exception in the sense we will be having some exception we have to throw in sometimes our own exception. So we'll create a custom class with extending of exception class, and we'll be writing our own
Can
class.
you write a custom exception?
Okay. Now we can use this directly, and we can pass a message what we can have.
Okay, how will you use this custom exception?
We can directly throw this exception in any places where we need it. Like if we have a method and we are thinking if something is happening and we know, we can throw that, or we can think that.
What will be the statement to throw this exception?
Statement in the sense, like
And there has to be some statement to use this custom exception, right? To throw this. So how will you throw this exception? There will be one line, yeah.
we can pass a message.
Okay. Okay, and what is the difference between REST and SOAP?
Yeah, like REST is like everything is comes and goes with the JSON concept, and in that SOAP will be like the values will be in XML. All the things will be the API calls and all will be in XML format.
Okay, so only this is the difference?
Yeah, high level that is the difference.
Okay. And how do we travel in linked list? I mean, explain linked list.
Okay, linked list like internally it will store the value like node by node, node based node. So if element we are inserting, that node will be like one element will be having a two nodes. So one will be pointed to another nodes, like front and like back and front will be there. So that will be node will be pointing to other element. One node means previous node will be having here. Means if you think a element previous element and the address will be there here, and new
Why
address
we
here.
in array we can access the elements on the basis of index. Why we cannot do so in linked list?
That is like we having a node based, right? So there no that is not stored in a like index wise. That is stored in a node by node. So only.
Okay. So what do you think? Yeah. the searching the element is more, like takes it less time in array list or in linked list?
Like searching, if you go, array list will be the easy, like that already index will be there, so we can fastly it can be searched. In the linked list, like that's what node by node it is there, right? So that will take time in the linked list.
And what about if we want to remove some element or we want to add some element? So which is a better, you know, approach, using linked list or array list? If we
Removing
want
in
to
the sense, we can go with the linked list. So like if one element is removed, only the other elements will be like only the previous and next node will be only the address will be changing. But in RLS, if you remove, all the things will be have to reindex, like come back once again, rearrange.
Okay, and what is this concept of IOC and dependency injection?
IOC is a container, like in the Spring we have like that will stores the dependencies and all, that creates a in Spring can create a one container where injections will be created, and dependencies are where beans and all will be creating and giving. Like if you have a one service class, a service as a class, so that will be, if will be auto varying in a controller class, and that is what, like that Spring will be taking care of creating an object of and gives us the object, that is like dependency injecting.
Okay, and can we create object of instance of interfaces?
No, interface we can't directly create the object.
Okay, and what are default methods? Why are they introduced in Java 8?
Basically, if the example we can take, like iterator is having a for each method, now they are introduced. So the for each is like iterating. So you, that method is like if they need to implement, they need to implement in all the sub classes. Like there are many classes. So for that they like in that concepts we can have many places in our, like in some places we can have like one interface having many classes, and that should be all one method we need to introduce where that should be effect in all the places. So we'll have a default method that will be easy to get. So
So can you explain default method?
explain this, like we in the interface we'll directly define a default of default public anything like string. If you're passing any value, any method we can pass, and we can write our own implementation over here in the
Okay, what
interface.
is functional interface?
A function interface in the sense which contains a single method in that. Like basically that uses by lambda expression. So lambda expression directly thinks it is having a one single method, and it will be
Only one single abstract
abstract
method.
method. Abstract method.
And what about default method? Can it have a default method also?
Yeah, it can be.
How many default methods? One, two, many?
Yeah, there is nothing like many things, but one should be an abstract class should be there. Abstract method.
And how will you call that this? Like suppose we have. How will you call this default method? If you want to use it, how will you use? Because you cannot create instance of it. So how will you use?
I think this one we have to, if it should be have a subclass to create an object of that, and we can create. If that is a static, then we would have called directly by using the interface dot method. I'm not sure, like I'm thinking like it should be have a implemented class where we can get that.
Okay. Okay. And so what is the difference between controller, @controller, and @rest controller?
Basically, both are the same, but the REST controller will be like the response we are in the API. All the APIs, if we are passing, it will directly converts to the JSON. And in controller, like if we are passing any string without adding a response body, then it will think as a some HTML or a JSP page. or else if we need to pass from in that, then we have to explicitly add as a at the rate response body.
Okay, what are profiles in Spring Boot?
Profiles means profiles means environment specific profiles you're telling. Like we have a dev and QA and prod. We'll be creating separate application properties for dev, prod, and QA. Like application hyphen dev, application hyphen QA. So that will be like mentioned in the main application properties. What string dot active profile. So while deploying also we will be mentioning the particular profile for the particular environment. So that only that many configurations will be affected.
And so, what is marker interface?
Marker interface in the sense that doesn't have any methods. Like basically serialization or clonable is a marker interface where like that will be known by a JVM. Like this is a serializable class, so that we have to serialize. So that is like a marker just without nothing any abstract class, abstract methods.
Okay. And do you have Angular knowledge also?
No, I have worked 1 month. I don't have.
Okay, back in GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you worked on the microservices?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean to say that multiple microservices communicating to each other.
Yeah.
So can you explain this process? How does it happen?
Like basically in our project, like if we have if we have an API is calling from the UI and one service is interacting to another, means we will be using a REST client. Currently we are using a REST template to communicate with the one service to another. Sorry. To one service to another service, we used to use a REST template. And we have another one feature also, like faint client. Directly we can mention the methods over there in that, like it is like an interface. We can mention the methods and we can pass the URL also, so that will also connect. Yeah, for connecting we'll be using the REST template or a faint client.
Okay, okay. So we have last 1 minute. Do you have any question for me?
Nothing.
Okay. So okay, so we are done with the interview. HR will get back to you on the feedback.
Yeah, thank you.